So now, Dan, you live in Bali, Indonesia, which is a very beautiful place, and you do a lot of business in Southeast Asia. Why do you think Southeast Asia is a good place to do business?
Well, one of the primary reasons is the lifestyle. If you are generating a reasonable income on Western standards, what we do is, perform some global arbitrage. You can take that Western level salary and move it to a developing area of the world, like here in Southeast Asia, and your purchasing power is much greater. So if you're selling products in a higher valued economy like Germany, and you're living in Vietnam, you're going to be able to experience a much higher lifestyle, and we call that concept arbitrage. Currency markets and stock traders have used that kind of concept all the time because they're dealing with very liquid assets. In our case, our locations weren't always so liquid. It wasn't always so easy to change your location. Now with internet-style businesses, it's getting easier. So primarily the lifestyle, I found that that's a great tool for recruiting because staff, they want to have a great lifestyle too. So if you can set up an office in a place like Bali, Indonesia, it's like paradise on earth. It's so beautiful here. People want to join you, and it's great for recruiting as well.
Do you find it's harder to get work done in a beautiful place? Bali is basically paradise. Can you still follow the 9-to-5 work grind and get things done?
I find that I get more work done in Bali because the cost of living here is lower on all fronts. Not only is food cheaper, rent cheaper, but it's easier to get people to help you out to do things. For example, in the United States, I can't afford to pay somebody to do my laundry. It's too expensive. But here in Bali, I have somebody do my laundry, and that saves me 2 hours a week. Simple things like that start to add up. It's a very relaxed and healthy place that helps me focus on work. I have a lot of friends that live in New York City, for example, and they spend so much time traveling on the train, making money to afford living there. And I see that as a much more stressful, difficult environment to really be productive and creative. Here in Bali, I have no problems focusing on my work.
So what kind of work schedule do you follow? Like, do you work every day? Do you work like 8 hours straight? Do you work at night? Because you're dealing with different time zones, people all around the world. You said your market is mainly in the States. Could you talk a little bit about your work routine?
Sure. It's actually defined by what I feel like my biorhythms are. To use a really colloquial phrase, car guys in the United States use this term called torque band, and that's when your engine is the strongest. At what time is your engine the strongest? And for me, that's 7 to 11 in the morning and 7 to 11 in the evening. And right now it's sort of 2:30, 3 p.m. This is generally a time that I would relax. I would close my computer, I would get in the pool, I'd meet with some friends, maybe take a walk, listen to some podcasts, and relax until dinner time. After dinner time, have a coffee and continue working. So it's primarily, for me, that just seems to be when I'm most creative, and I have no idea why.
Sounds like a nice life. So I'm here with Dan, and Dan lives in Bali, Indonesia, where he runs his business operations, and we're going to talk about good cities to do business. So Dan, what are your favorite cities or cities that you think would be a good place to start up an international business?
Well, it really depends what kind of business you're doing, I suppose. If you are an English speaker and you like to hire other English speakers, the Philippines is a famous place for going to hire English speakers. A good city to do that would be like Cebu City in the south of the Philippines, or Davao in the south of the Philippines. You could also look at Manila, but it's not such a nice city, and the workers are a little bit more expensive there. If you're looking for lifestyle, like a great lifestyle, and maybe you're not hiring so much or doing financial things, but it's just on your laptop, say, Bangkok is a great place. Some of the best food in the entire world. You've got great nightlife, and you can travel anywhere from Bangkok. Bali, obviously, is a great place if you're not such a city person and you'd like a more relaxed environment, but it's still very developed. I mean, you can eat 100 different nationality foods. You walk down the street and you can get food from all around the world. Whereas if you'd want something a little bit more of an adventure and secluded, sort of off the beaten track, you could select Nha Trang in south central Vietnam.
Now, you have connections in China. Could you recommend any places in China?
Well, unfortunately for me in China is that a lot of my travel there has been super business focused, and I'm always going to the place where there's the factory or the bank or the connection. And so I haven't really gotten a great chance to explore places that you might go for a lifestyle. But off the top of my head, there's two places that stick out. One is Shanghai. And really, to me, Shanghai, I've been to a lot of big cities, but Shanghai is a whole nother level of big. It's like the movie Blade Runner mixed with the movie The Matrix. I mean, it is so futuristic, and it really blew me away to be in this city. And it also has hints of Europe. I mean, Shanghai is famous for being famous in the 1920s and 30s with expatriates coming there, and it's very international. And it really does have sort of a charm that a lot of places in China lack, because cities in China are so new. A 10 million person city will just sort of pop up overnight. Another place that sticks out for me is Xiamen, and that's close to Taipei, and it's one of the nicer big cities in China. There's a lot of more nature-oriented, green parks, stuff like that. So those would be the two places, but especially Shanghai. I feel like I could live there for a few years.
So Dan, we're talking about your travels and living overseas, and you have a concept you call slow travel. Can you explain what slow travel is?
Yeah, I mean, especially maybe because I'm a blogger, we're always seeking to define things in unique ways. And there's a lot of terms out there. There's expat, people that have left their native country. There's backpacker, which is someone who tries to keep their costs very low and they're continually moving from place to place. There's flashpacker, which is a term that means you still have an income from somewhere and you have more tech and toys and you stay at maybe nicer hotels. But what I did was always a little bit different, which is I would go and get long-term leases or medium-term leases at apartments. So I would go and get a house or an apartment in a place for anywhere from 1 to 6 months and enjoy what it feels like to actually live somewhere. And that to me is so exciting. Although the sights and everything are cool and hanging out with tourists can be fun, I much prefer to go down to the local cafe, open up my laptop, talk to the people that are working there, and really get a sense for what it's like to live in a city. And over the course of my career, what that's looked like is you really develop a deep connection with the places that you live in. You might hire people there. You have really good friends there. One of the downsides of being a tourist is that you never really can develop friendships. And so what I found is that I go back to revisit a lot of the places that I once lived because I have lifelong friendships there. So that, to me, has really been the benefit of slow travel. And I have a theory about friendship. I think, really, you can't go to a place for just 1 month. People won't invest their time in you. So if at least you're going to stay in a place for 3 to 4 months, I think that's sort of the turning point with a lot of people. And they'll say, hey, yeah, you know what? Let's go try to be friends. Let's go out and do something together.
So Dan, you're talking about slow travel, and you're saying that basically you go and just live in a place, and I think a lot of people would be really hesitant to do that. I mean, that sounds exciting, but it's like a really big step. How would you convince somebody to do this type of lifestyle?
Well, the first thing is to get connected on the blogosphere with a lot of other people who are doing it, because I think that once you see other people doing it, the mystery comes away and you realize, hey, this is something that I could do. This is achievable for me. I call that like a precedent case analysis. If you can see some other guys doing it and you can relate with them, not such a big deal anymore. The next thing is I always try to go somewhere where I have a project. I think that's a great way to really get engaged, because it's so easy just to go to a place, get a short-term apartment, and then go to Starbucks, and then that could just be your life. Whereas, when we came here to Bali, we decided that we're going to set up a house, and we're going to invite interns over, and we're going to meet entrepreneurs from all around the world. And that's why we're going to Bali, because Bali's a place that everybody wants to go. If you mention Bali to somebody, they're like, I would love to go to Bali someday. And that's great for meeting people, so that's why we came here. My last location in the Philippines, I went there with a project to hire people, because I knew it was a great place to hire people. Place before that in Vietnam, I decided that I wanted to do investments in Vietnam. It's a great place to put capital. Of course, that was before the financial crisis, so that didn't work out for so long. But I find that the idea of having a project gets you engaged. For me as a business person, I've never gone somewhere and not hired somebody there. And that act in and of itself helps me to get engaged. Now, if you're not a business person, a lot of people would come to a place like Bali and say, I'm going to learn how to surf. or I'm going to learn how to cook local Indonesian food, or I'm going to learn the language. Those kinds of projects, I think, are really useful for the slow travel concept. And they're a unique opportunity, because if you're a tourist, you don't have time to set up a business or to learn the language. And that's the unique opportunity for the slow traveler.
I'm sold.
All right, so Spencer, if you could design your dream home, what would it be like?
I know exactly what it would be like. It would be all wood, old-style beach house on the ocean and on the Sound. So it would have oceanfront porches all the way around. The biggest thing is the porches, because I don't really care about having, massive extra rooms for guests or whatever. Like, I want to be able to be outside. Like, being outside is big for me. I love screening porches as well. So that and the library. I'm a huge kind of book nerd, so I would love to have just a library with lots of different shelves and, a couple of desks for studying. That's the dream home for me.
Actually, I'm wondering about the outside. Would you paint the house, or would you just leave it the natural wood color?
I want a natural color. There's an island south that's all kind of pastel Easter egg looking colors, and it's too much for me. Also too, like all the beach houses in LA, they're all kind of too tacky for me. Like, I don't know, I like kind of the old look, kind of traditional style.
And do you think you would use natural wood on it or a different material? I know that the beaches are really tough on the siding and paneling.
That is true.
Okay, what would the kitchen be like in your dream house?
I'm not much of a cook, but I hope that my future husband is, so I would like to have a big kitchen for him. Lots of table space. I want one of those islands, in the center of a kitchen where there's a marble countertop that has, a couple of sinks and the ability to kind of put multiple different pots of vegetables or fruits out and about while you're cooking and preparing. I'd also like kind of a bar counter space as well, so that people can kind of pull up a chair and maybe help cook, or maybe just be there for company while you're cooking.
And how about your living room? Do you have any ideas for that?
Living room, mainly just comfort. My parents had a living room in their house, but it was all just really nice antique furniture, and we were never allowed to go there. So it's kind of like, what's the point of having a room in a house that you never go into? So I would like a living room, yes, maybe with a fireplace and some antique furniture, but nothing too nice that, if my child or my dog were to come in from outside, could really mess up.
And how about your yard? Do you have any ideas for a yard around your house?
I want a lot of dogs, so I would like a big yard that they could be able to run around in, as well as if I have children, have enough room for them to be able to, have slip-and slides, or, one of my best friends back home, she had a yard that had a creek in it, and that was so much fun, growing up, being able to, catch different, creepy crawlies in the stream, as well as, have a messy or muddy day if we wanted to.
And how about the bathroom?
I want a massive bathroom, actually. My favorite shower in the world has 5 or 6 different faucets, and it's just massive. It gives you space. I'm kind of a clumsy person, so if I fall down, I don't want to be able to, I don't want to hit my head on anything. I also like a big jacuzzi bathtub. My grandparents had this really, really big old porcelain tub that I swear 5 people could fit into. So I'd really like to be able to have a big bathtub.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Curtis, what would your dream house be like? Tell me about the kitchen, living room, yard.
Well, I've thought a lot about my dream house and designing it. Actually, that's the kind of work that my father does, so he said he could draw the plans up for me. But I've done a lot of art, and I really want to work my art into the house. So the living room, I would like there to be a kind of a frieze around the outside of the room where I actually do the art myself. And I used to do a lot of construction when I was younger, and so I would really like to take part in the process so that I have a kind of sense of ownership with the house, that I've really built part of that. The kitchen, I want it to be a very large space and next to a room that has a lot of media so that you can kind of pay attention to things or watch tutorials and recipes while you're cooking, follow along with your favorite chefs or cooking channels. I'd like a really big industrial refrigerator and a huge island that I can work with, as well as a massive sink for cleaning things. I used to work at a restaurant, and I loved the dishwasher there because it was so quick and easy, so I would like a restaurant-style dishwasher in my kitchen, too.
So what about the yard?
Yeah. So tell me about what would your yard be like?
I would like a lot of grass. I really love a yard with nice grass, especially when you're playing soccer. You can get under the ball and have a lot of fun like that.
It's nice to have a big backyard to play sports.
Yeah, I think so as well.
What about your bathroom?
My bathroom. Well, I would like to have a kind of a spa in there, honestly. I would like to have a big bathtub, but I want my house to have geothermal heating. And if I have a geothermal heating system, I can also probably have a hot spring in the bathroom. I'd like it to be quite big and have a nice shower as well, just a very nice open area with nice sinks. I don't want to feel constrained in my bathroom. I don't want it to be small. It has to be big.
Oh, what about your living room?
My living room, one of the things that was really important to me for my living room, again, is the art. That I want to have a lot of details around the outside that are murals or friezes that I've actually created on the walls, so that there's almost a kind of entertaining sense about it, just being in there before you turn on any other devices or televisions or anything like that. That there's kind of a artistic and comfortable feel to it. It doesn't feel sterile. It feels very homey.
Ah, cool. Would you have a big garage?
I probably would have a big garage because I really love driving, and I used to race cars at the track. And for the purposes of doing work on cars or any other DIY work around the house, I would like to have a really big, nice garage.
Would you have any sort of like swimming pool? Or, I know you said you wanted a sauna in your bathroom, but
Well, I would really like a portion that's maybe separate from the bathroom that has shutters that open up, so on a nice night you can actually open it and see out over the yard or whatever landscape that the house is built next to.
oh, that would be cool.
But I would like the area to be a little bit private, hopefully surrounded by woods a little bit, where you can't see your neighbors immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
Hi. So, Rory.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm not sure, you know. Sometimes I think that I'm basically an introvert.
Yes.
Like, as I get older, I much prefer my own company.
Interesting.
I don't really like going to parties that much if there's going to be new people there.
Mm-hmm.
If it's my friends, I'm happy to go out, but I don't know. What about you?
It's funny what you said. I feel the same way. I think sometimes I'm an introvert, and at other times I can be an extrovert. But maybe in reverse to what you said, I feel like the older I get, the more extroverted I become.
That's interesting.
While I was younger, I was a lot shyer, so I preferred my own company. But now I find that sometimes too, I really enjoy people, so I like to
Right.
meet new ones.
Yeah.
So yeah.
In the classroom, as a teacher, I'm quite an extrovert, I think. I quite like being up in front of students, showing off. But I would never do that in front of other teachers or my friends
Interesting.
in my personal life. But it's something about the classroom, maybe because it's my environment and I'm in control,
Yes.
that I feel more comfortable, like being more extroverted and showing off, camping up.
I think it would be a little difficult to be introverted if you were a language teacher. I think it certainly helps to be extroverted or
Yeah.
to act to be able to become more extroverted when you're in the classroom.
Yeah.
For sure, for sure.
And have you ever done anything really extroverted, like performed in public or
Before I used to sing actually, and I've sang in concerts.
right?
And it's true, I think that's where my introverted self really comes out, because although I enjoy singing and I like the attention to a certain extent, but I get really nervous.
Right.
Really, really nervous when I'm in front of a large crowd. And sometimes I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't do that so much
Right.
anymore.
And do you think people can change? Do you think people, because people seem to want to become more extroverted, it seems to be like society says extroverted people are successful people.
It's true.
Do you think people can change, or do you think people should try to change?
I've heard of actually people saying that depending on the language, that people change with language. I've heard of some of my students saying that when they speak in a different language, their personality actually changes.
Right.
Where maybe in their own language they may be quieter,
Mm-hmm.
but when they speak the different language, they become a lot more extroverted.
Right.
It's as if they change.
Uh-huh.
So whether or not it's a real change, I think you can fake it,
Mm-hmm.
quote unquote, even if you're not an extrovert or an introvert. Maybe for a few hours or for
Right.
the occasion, yeah, you can pretend and then go back.
Right. I
Yeah.
wonder if when we speak a different language, we don't have the same connections with the words.
That's true.
Makes it easier to maybe speak more honestly and not worry about what other people think of us.
That's true.
Hello, I'm here with Olga. She's from Russia. Olga, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, sure. I do a lot of things that concern health and happiness. I am concentrating on modalities that allow you to help yourself. So I do a lot of courses of self-healing. So I have a lot of different alphabet soup after my name, HHP, which is Holistic Health Practitioner, NC, which is Nutritional Counselor. But I like to refer to myself as Health Coach.
Okay, wow, that's cool. So what's your advice for staying healthy?
Well, I was very excited to find out that while I thought I was studying different modalities, some Oriental healing systems like Chinese and Ayurvedic and Japanese, and then I thought, I'm studying something totally different in U.S. when I went into American Indian healing systems, or when I was in Russia, we have our own traditions. But then I discovered that all of them, even though they use different words, have something in common. So the deeper you understand the principles, the closer they become, and in the end, they converge into 3 points. So any successful healing system addresses 3 health problems and turn them into 3 healing opportunities.
Wow, that's so interesting. So what are these 3 principles?
Sure. One of them is toxicity. So what I call toxic is anything that is too much. Even something good can turn into bad when you have too much of it. And toxicity doesn't come in the physical form only. We can have toxic food and air, but we also can have toxic thoughts or toxic emotions. So when I say toxicity, I say that it's on all levels of existence, body, mind, and spirit.
Oh, that's so fascinating. So can you kind of expand on that a little bit more, give some examples?
No, absolutely. When I say that something good can turn into bad, I can give you an example of water. Everybody knows that to drink water is very important, and dehydration causes a lot of diseases, especially nowadays. But if I ask you to drink 20 liters of water, what do you think will happen?
You would get sick, right?
You die, because the 20 liters of water rushing through your system will wash out all your electrolytes, and you will not be able to sustain life.
Wow, that's I've read of people actually dying, like on marathons and stuff, because they overhydrate. Actually, that it can get risky if you drink too much.
Well, if you drink too much of the wrong stuff, because we don't need only water. If you drink distilled water, it's very risky because distilled water is extremely aggressive and acidic. So distilled water, let's reserve it for fountains and cars. It's not for human consumption.
Wow, that's so interesting. So what other tips do you have about wellness and health?
Well, we just covered one of the roots, which is too much of something, what they call toxicity. But there are 2 others. So the root number 2 is deficiency, which is a mirror opposite of toxicity. So what are you lacking in? Is it nutrients? what do you need to bring into your life? Maybe it's self-love. Maybe there is a deficit of self-love and acceptance and respect. Or maybe it's a deficit of knowledge.
Wow, that's so interesting. You know, that we're in Bangkok, and that actually reminds me of a time that I was not eating that many vegetables, and I felt really sick. And I was walking in my brain. I felt like my body was talking to me, and it was saying, "Go eat a salad. Like, you need to eat a salad immediately." And I went and ate a salad, and I was like 23 years old at the time, and I felt immediately better. And I remember thinking, wow, like my body literally was talking to me, telling me to go eat my vegetables.
Well, I believe that our bodies do it all the time. But if we ignore the voice becomes so low, becomes a little whisper, and then it nearly disappears. And to resolve that problem of not listening to yourself, I actually teach a class on bioresonance that brings the voice back up again.
Oh, that's interesting. So what is bioresonance?
Bioresonance is an umbrella term for a lot of different modalities and how to use vibration, the resonance, the energy, to understand something about the universe or yourself.
Oh, that's fascinating. So you said that we have toxicity and then we have deficiency. What's the third problem?
Well, the third root of pretty much any disease, physical or mental, is stagnation. So when something is stuck, like let's say water doesn't move, it becomes to stink. Yeah, so stagnation is death and movement is life. So it works on cellular level, it works on planetary level, on the level of our whole organism. So everything should circulate. There should be circulation of oxygen, of blood, lymph, of thoughts, emotions. So when you block the flow, it usually manifests as pain. So pain is either stuck or broken flow of energy.
Wow, that's so true. You know, that reminds me of one of my favorite sayings, variety is the spice of life. So basically we always should have some change. We shouldn't always be stuck in a rut, so to speak, and we should be trying to do new things, correct?
Yes, and a lot of my clients in this health coaching business call my approach to diet Vita Rainbow diet, because I'm all about full spectrum of emotions, full spectrum of nutrients, full spectrum of life.
Wow, that's great. Thanks so much. So I'm here with Olga, who is a health coach, and I thought we would talk about learning. So people have to learn all these new things to be healthy. It might be a big change in their life. What type of advice would you give people for completely adapting to new change and learning new things?
Well, I discovered that the most important things that people can do to be healthy and happy is to educate themselves. So what I do, I call Vita Academy, the Academy of Life. And there are 4 H's that are cornerstone of this learning concept.
Okay, oh, that's great. So what are the 4 H's?
The first H is head. So first you upload a lot of information that is maybe logical, brainy, and you get knowledge, you kind of understand things.
Okay, right. So you basically you take in the information and, okay, then the next step?
So the next step is to check with yourself if the message that arrived into your head resonates. Do you feel it in your heart?
Wow, that's pretty good. So also you could probably use your heart to see if it's true, right? Like, so intuition, is it something that's believable, if it's something that's true?
Exactly. You can call it gut feeling, intuition, talking to angels. I teach bioresonance based on that. It's how to raise your intuition to the pretty much brain level and understand yourself. But it's not gut feeling is not an H, so I just stick with heart.
I like that. Okay, so then after the heart, you said it's hand?
Yes. So the third level of learning is experiencing it. So using your hands and bring all this knowledge into your life and see how it works.
All right, so basically, put something into practice, right? So use it or lose it. If you don't do it, then you're not going to really know it.
Exactly. Use it and lose it work on all levels. Is there muscles, if you don't lose, goes into atrophy. Same goes for your memory or, anything else in your life.
Oh, wow, that's great. Okay, so then the last one is help.
Yes. So once you understand what to do, you feel that it's the right thing to do, you experience and you saw the positive results, then it's only natural to share your success story and help other people. So for me, the best way to learn is by teaching, by helping.
Oh, wow, that's really nice. So recap, so it's head, you take in the information, heart, you know if it's true or not, like does it resonate with you? Hand, you put it into practice, and then help, you actually give.
Yes, exactly.
Wow, that's some really good advice. Thanks a lot.
Most welcome.
So I'm here with Olga, and she's a health coach, and we were talking about the difference between modern trends in nutrition and traditional and like health and things like that. I thought I would throw out some idioms, and age-old idioms, words of wisdom, and how they apply today. So the first one is, variety is the spice of life.
I totally agree with that, and I see it in clinical practice to be true. You don't really need to be PhD in healing or nutrition. If you throw into your diet variety, and it would change with the season, it would change with the location, it would change with your mood and how your body feels, then that's it. Variety can really give your body everything, and your body has all the knowledge, all the wisdom, and knows what to do with that.
So basically, when we eat, we shouldn't just eat one type of food. We want to make sure we have a very varied food supply of vegetables, fruit, even meat, things like that.
That is correct. And our ancestors used to have a variety that is not 2, not 5, not 10, but 100 times more than what we do now. Our ancestors would have 3,000 different food items that they would rotate.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, how about the next one, common one, an apple a day keeps the doctor away?
That is actually very interesting because the more I was looking into this particular fruit, the more respect I got for it. And when I design liver detox systems, we have a special apple day. And we use malic acid and apples as a preparation to dissolve gallbladder and liver stones. And you can go on and on and on about all the components of apple. It's so complicated and yet so simple. You just grab an apple, bite, chew, swallow, done.
Wow, and I think also it's kind of like basically if you just eat like unprocessed foods, if you eat natural foods, right, then you will probably stay healthy and you won't need to see the doctor.
Well, this is exactly what the proverb says, and it's very literal.
Okay, so how about one not related to food? All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, which I guess means like if you just work all the time and you don't rest and relax and have fun, then you'll just be a boring person.
Well, actually, any kind of extreme has health consequences. We talk a little bit about toxicity and deficiency as roots of any health problems. So when you don't have enough of something or too much of something, both cause problems.
Wow, that's fascinating. Okay, so let's talk about sleep. The early bird gets the worm. So I think it kind of just means like the people that go to bed early and wake up early, they're more productive. Do you think that's what it means?
Well, I'm not sure. Honestly, I've seen people really individualize their life, and some people go to bed late and wake up late, and they're still productive. And in different times of our lives, we have different periods when it's better to go to bed early and wake up earlier, and other times it's okay to go to bed late and wake up late. But in general, yes, Chinese medicine talk a lot about their times for the different meridians that represent organs. For example, from 11 in the evening until 3 in the morning, it's liver and gallbladder time. So if you're up during that time, these organs do not rejuvenate, they don't repair, and it's tremendous stress for them.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about medicine and seeking help. How about a stitch in time saves 9?
Well, I think it's true for a lot of things in the healing world. It's much, much easier to prevent disease than to reverse it. So a lot of times if you get the disease, the best case scenario in modern medicine is just to control the symptoms and to slow down the progression. But if you use the natural preventive medicine, it's actually much less effort, and you can enjoy life, and you can enjoy that first stitch without ever thinking or needing the 9 that would be needed if you didn't do something preventive.
Okay, wow, fascinating. And the last one, I think you've talked about this before, too much of a good thing is a bad thing.
Yes, again, I can refer to Oriental wisdom of yin and yang. If you can visualize the symbol of yin yang, usually it's 2 half circles, and there is a seed of the opposite color right in the middle of it. So, in the white you would have a seed of black, and in the black a seed of white, and they constantly turn into each other. So too much of something turns into its exact opposite.
Wow, fascinating. Thanks a lot.
Most welcome.
So I'm here with Olga, who's a health coach and a life coach. So you've talked a lot about things we should do, but what about stopping doing things or breaking bad habits? Like, that's the hardest thing, right? So what's your advice for giving up sugar or alcohol or obsessive behavior, things like that?
Well, actually, I'm not suggesting that people fight with themselves and they avoid or break anything, because that would constitute violence against yourself. And I'm a student of Marshall Rosenberg, who developed a nonviolent communication system. So instead of taking away the bad, you add something good. So you find exciting, fun, new habits that will naturally substitute.
Okay, so for example, like let's say you watch too much TV or you're addicted to your smartphone, you would try to, maybe play outside or do something like that.
Well, you can develop a lot of new habits and see what works for you. And one of the things that I discovered for myself is that willpower is a very finite resource. We don't have infinite amounts of willpower, so we need to use it very sparingly on short distances. It's not for marathons. So what I suggest when you're establishing a new habit that you feel that is the right habit for you, you need to use a little bit of willpower to repeat it enough times. And usually magic number is 21 days.
Really? 21 days? Why 21?
I have no idea, but this number keeps popping up from different traditions in East and West, and also psychology, and I saw it in my own practice that it works.
Fascinating. So What about, like, let's say you want to give up sugar, or you want to give up smoking or something like that, a physical substance. Do you have any tips for that?
Yes, one of their easiest things to do is incorporate fermented foods that break up biochemical dependency on sugars, alcohol, and some other addictive substances. So when I work with people who are recovering from any kind of addictions, they don't have to be substance addictions, fermented foods help a lot.
Okay, can you give some examples of fermented foods?
Well, absolutely. If you just chop up any kind of vegetable, let's say it's cabbage and carrot, so you cut it up, you massage it with salt and some spices until their juice comes out, and you press it down so all the vegetables are covered with its own juice. 3 days later, you have perfect fermented sauerkraut.
Wow, that's great. So could you just buy like sauerkraut or vinegar or something like that? Like, would that work?
Well, unfortunately, it wouldn't, because most of their krauts that you buy is pasteurized, which does not give you their probiotic activity, and a lot of it is fake sauerkrauts. What I mean by that, if there was no bacterial activity and the taste comes from vinegar, you do not get these benefits.
Wow, that's good to know. I think, though, part of the problem, though, is even myself thinking like, oh, I'm not going to cut up a bunch of cabbage and carrots and wait 3 days. Like, it seems like it's too much work.
Well, it might be, and maybe you can visit a friend who is doing that, or if you have access to farmers market or some natural organic stores, they may provide something that is not pasteurized and prepared the right way.
Oh, that's a good idea. Okay, well, thanks a lot. That was some really good advice.
Very welcome.
Okay, so Anthony, I thought we would talk about Bitcoin.
Okay.
So, you are kind of the expert about Bitcoin.
I wouldn't say I'm an expert. Just maybe a hobbyist.
So, how
Bitcoin
long have you been
hobbyist.
involved with Bitcoin?
Probably, I first heard about Bitcoin in probably 2012, and I'm really kicking myself that I didn't buy some then, because it was about $20. But
$20 per Bitcoin.
Yeah, per Bitcoin. It was about $20.
So how much is it worth now?
Right now it's about 8,500 somewhere.
You've got
around
to
there.
be kidding me.
No, I wish I was. But
wow.
I got into it as a hobbyist around 2014, a little before I moved abroad, and I got into what is known as mining. So to briefly explain what that is miners, people who call themselves miners, they buy special computers, which are called ASICs, and that stands for Application Specific Integrated Circuit. And the application specific part means that the chips that you're using in that computer can only be used for one specific purpose, and that purpose is to solve cryptographic problems, thus creating Bitcoin. So that's what I was doing. I was running a mining computer.
So when you say mining, like mining, you're getting little bits of Bitcoin.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
tiny fragments.
Exactly.
You have this chip in your computer finds this cryptographic problem.
Yes.
So your computer, you get the reward
Yes.
by getting a small bit of Bitcoin.
Exactly. So usually you can mine, it's called solo mining. You can do solo mining where you're only working with whatever computers you have. But what's a lot more popular is pool mining, where you join a pool and you work together with a group of miners to solve one problem. And once the block is discovered, as they say, each block contains 50 Bitcoins. So depending on the computing power that you were giving the pool, you get paid out in equal measure. So for people, that's a lot more profitable than solo mining, because you could solo mine for years and never find a block. So yeah.
So, yeah, for somebody who has no concept of this, the first thing they're going to ask is, well, who creates these blocks of, who makes this?
That's a good question.
It's like a, where are we from? Like it's like a chicken and an egg thing.
Exactly.
So,
and that's a very interesting point to bring up because allegedly the creator of Bitcoin is someone called Satoshi Nakamoto. And he is the alleged creator, as I said. But the reason I say alleged is that no one has ever met this person. It's kind of he's kind of a mystery. So no one knows his real identity. Some people have had made theories that it could be a group of people. It could be a specific person and that's just an alias. But no one really knows who this guy is and where he came from. And it's a really interesting concept.
So then how did this take hold? How did this get a foot in society? You know what I mean? Like get a foot in the door, I should say.
Yeah.
So somebody creates this system. This person is a mystery.
Yes.
But then the internet grabbed onto it and said, hey, this is a really cool thing. I want to buy this. It's quite interesting that this market came out of nowhere, and now it's challenging traditional currency systems.
Exactly. Well, it started. There was this mailing. This was like before the internet was even really what it is now. But I think in like 2007, 2008, there was like a group of people called the cypherpunks, and they were kind of like anarchistic programmers that were kind of anti-establishment, and they ran this email mailing list, and they were just collaborating together, talking about, creating some kind of digital cash. And Satoshi Nakamoto was a member of that mailing list, and that's where it kind of gained the underground movement. And really, I think there's what is called a white paper, and that's a document that details everything about Bitcoin. And it's really big. It's maybe like I'm not sure exactly how large, but it's like a book. And a lot of the reason it took off is people would read it and they would believe the technology, and they would try to sell it to other people because they believed in it, really.
Wow. That's an interesting history. And so basically this community read this white paper, and then it took off and gained momentum, and then here we are today.
Yeah, but I think a big part of it, as you mentioned, is really just convincing people, because really fiat currency, I mean, if you break it down, it's just paper, right? It's just paper that the government makes.
It's an illusion.
Yeah, and the only reason that it has any value is because we trust in it, right? So if I give you a $100 bill or whatever, you're going to trust that you can spend that, right, to buy something. So it's the same thing with Bitcoin. Like, it's a process of convincing people that because this technology makes something that is scarce, it cannot be replicated, it cannot be without the proper means, it cannot be moved or taken, that it is a valid way of transferring value digitally. So that's a really big part of it, and a lot of people have bought into it.
Wow, very interesting. So, Anthony, we're talking about Bitcoin. Now, you've invested in Bitcoin before?
Yeah, a bit.
Do you still invest a lot now?
I haven't recently.
Okay, so why did you stop?
I stopped because I was getting a little anxious about seeing my portfolio swing up and down by like $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 in a day, and I kind of decided that I would take out the money that I invested in it and just let my profits ride, basically.
Right. So basically, originally then, you were using Bitcoin for speculative purposes, right? Not to actually buy things. You weren't using it as a means to actually make transactions.
That is correct. I've only bought one thing with Bitcoin, and that was it's called a hardware wallet, which is basically, it looks like a USB stick, but it's a way to secure your funds.
So do you think that in the future we will have people using Bitcoins more? Like it's going to become a viable alternative to actually for commerce to pay for things?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think Bitcoin will be what we all use, but it's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely the archetype for what is coming.
It's the pioneer.
Yes,
yeah.
the pioneering technology. There's going to be something that is similar to Bitcoin that we use as a digital payment system.
Yeah. So a lot of people are freaked out about Bitcoin. What are some reasons people are skeptical against it?
That's a good question. Well, one question that I've been asked before is who controls it? Everyone always wants to know who's in charge, right? Who's the CEO?
Yeah.
Right? Because we're so conditioned to this kind of system. But that is the thing. And it's kind of scary for some people, but there is no control over it. It's a program at the end of the day, and there's no governing body. There's no government organization that really has this say. I mean, specific governments will try to regulate the markets to a certain extent, but at the end of the day, the power is in the hands of the people that use it, really. And as long as people use it, there will be some kind of value to it. Just as long as we use paper money, there's value to it. As long as it's exchanged, right?
Right, and some people have made some good points. For example, nobody foresaw the use of e-commerce or smartphones or social media, but these things adopted and ramped up quickly.
Yes.
So do you think this could happen with these crypto technologies? Is that the right way to say it? Crypto technologies?
Cryptocurrencies.
Cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, or blockchain technologies.
Blockchain technology, okay.
I think it's very rapid right now. It's kind of becoming a household word. Whereas when I first got into it, if I talked to someone about Bitcoin, they would look at me like I was crazy. They would look at me like I had a hole in my face or something.
Right.
But now it's people know, like even older people who aren't really so in touch with technology know what it is or have at least heard about it. But I think the biggest hurdle to mass adoption is that as it stands now, it takes a lot of knowledge and a lot of know-how in order to safely, because the reason why I say safely is because if you're dealing with Bitcoin, you're in charge of securing your funds. So, if someone, hacks into your funds or something, then it's your fault. You don't have anyone to blame. Whereas if you have your money in a bank,
you can't call customer service.
Exactly, you can't call customer service. So there's a big hurdle as far as the knowledge you need to safely and effectively maneuver in that space. So I think until some second party or third party comes about and makes it more user friendly, I don't really think it's gonna be ready to really take over until that happens, because either more people need to be educated and know how to use it and how to purchase it, how to store it, etc., or there needs to be some huge company that's going to say, look, we'll manage it for you. You just need this app or something. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, the crossover. They always say, be careful what you wish for. You might just get it.
Yeah.
And if Bitcoin or some currency becomes the primary source of transactions, I think a lot of the ills and the dodgy stuff we have with banks will seep into it. It will be interesting if they could keep it out.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. But I think one thing that's interesting about the currencies is that I think a lot of old people will go for it. I think a lot of old people usually are hesitant about technology and change, but the thing that they have a lot of money that they're sitting on, usually older people, and they also don't trust the government. They've been around a long time. And so I think these crypto currencies are going to be very attractive to a lot of tech unsavvy people. What do you think about that?
I think you have a point. I think that's, they'll probably more so than young people have money to invest. But I think that's, like I said before, it's just there's such a, I've spent like so many hours reading about these kind of technologies and just really obsessing over it. And I still feel like there's so much I don't know.
Right.
So.
Well, I guess we all got to learn.
Yeah. All right.